Having a look at customer service here in the UAE, always a hot topic. Everyone's got an opinion. We have Robert Keay, founder and managing director of the Ethos Consultancy, in the studio with us this morning. Robert, thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, Brandy.
And of course, we've reached the end of DSF 2013, so it's a good time to look at what companies can do to retain customers beyond just offering them a bargain. How important is customer service during the sale? Do people worry less about customer service if they're getting a good bargain, if there's a bit of a sales frenzy going on?
I think the challenge, Brandy, is that the retailers are not thinking about customer service during DSF. It's a unique opportunity for marketeers and advertisers to, get the promotions right, get the pricing right, and get the product off the shelves. And unfortunately, the last thing on their mind is customer service. And also, from a consumer perspective, we're looking for bargains. We're looking to buy something and get something free or get a big discount. We're not necessarily thinking about what's going to happen when it breaks. And that's where the challenge starts to kick in.
What with after-sales service?
The after-sales service is an area that we've been focusing a lot of our attention on with our clients, and it's probably the single biggest problem area for the country now.
Why do you think that is?
Because we've become a sales-driven society in every aspect of a consumer relationship, whether it's cars, whether it's retail, whether it's hotels, whether it's banking. There is more spent and more focus on getting the money in the door and less thought and less effort and less process put into what happens when the customer complains.
Do you think, in general, Dubai offers good customer service?
It's patchy, Malcolm. I think this is our 10th year here now, and during that time we've seen some great customer service, some awful customer service, and I think now that the economy's picking back up, there's more and more new employees coming into the marketplace, getting into jobs where they're not being trained, and therefore we're seeing customer service going down.
Not only they're not being trained, but because of the transient nature of Dubai, staff are not likely to be around in 5 or 10 years. Compared to in Europe, where you get people in the same shop for 20, 25 years. So there isn't very much of an incentive from either side, employee or employer, to spend money and time to improve their service levels.
I think we're seeing more people stay here a lot longer than we ever did before. And we're also seeing particularly retailers starting to invest in recruiting the right people and starting to give them the sort of training that they deserve. But I think you're right with what you say. It's a bit of an anomaly when you look at places like the US and Singapore, where retail customer service is at its highest, and in the UAE, where the sector is probably at its lowest from a customer service perspective.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions actually about what you said there about after-sales service and mentioning the US as well. I know that the DED is publishing its Blue Book at the moment, so it's letting people know what their rights are. And you've come in with a copy, what their rights are when it comes to exchanging faulty merchandise, arranging refunds, that kind of thing. But if we look at just the general terms of sales in the UAE, I tend to find them tighter than in other countries. If you shop in the US, you can return pretty much anything, even open makeup, actually, for a much longer period than you can here in the UAE. Something doesn't have to be faulty for you to return it. We're seeing a lot of retailers here in the UAE not giving money back, but only giving store credit. Why do we have that here? Why don't we have more expensive terms for return?
I think from the research we've conducted over the years, it's really down to short-sightedness of the owners of the retail organisations. They don't realise the amount of effort, frustration and anger that builds up in a customer, and they don't relate that to money. They don't relate it back to the fact that customer is not going to spend any money with them again. So they're thinking all the time it's just the front end of the business and not the back end.
Well, the laws here tend to deal with problems, with faulty goods, with replacements, with warranties and the like. Do we need to see that go further? Do we need to see some kind of regulation about whether or not you give cash refunds or credit card refunds rather than store credit, and the amount of time and the conditions in which someone can return a good that's not faulty?
Oh, I think from our perspective, fundamentally, yes. We've read the Blue Book. It's a step in the right direction, but it still doesn't give the consumer many rights in terms of returning something that doesn't work. I've been in a position myself recently where I bought a laptop for the business. We opened it, we turned it on, it didn't turn on. We took it back to the retailer. They said, we'll send it for repair. And they said that was all right.
But isn't that one of the ways that Dubai can provide products fairly cheaply, or cheaper than other centres, is by only offering a local warranty and not an international warranty? So there's a big difference. Some companies have international warranties, some have local warranties. That difference can make the price point difference. So it's inevitable that they can't service that themselves. They have to send it back to the manufacturer.
Malcolm, I used to think the same myself, but when you do the amount of research that we now do globally, Dubai isn't a cheap place to buy many products. If you take some technology equipment, cameras for example, are more expensive here than in the UK.
Yeah, I got chatting to an Australian family that were shopping during DSF. Actually, I ran into them in a sports shop, started talking to strangers and was talking about how they found the prices, because obviously the Australian dollar pretty high at the moment. I was saying, it must be great bargains for you guys. And they were saying not in things like clothing. It wasn't really worth it for them. The one thing that they did find that was a lot cheaper that they were buying was sneakers. Randomly.
Yeah, I think that sums up what we found as well, Brandy. I think that Dubai, when I came here 10 years ago, was certainly a great place to shop and great bargains. But now you're looking at many countries of the world where you can buy the same things cheaper. So I don't think the retailers can use that as an excuse for not providing better after-sales service.
Well, DSF finished, I think, yesterday or today?
Finishes today.
Today. Do you think that shoppers have a lower expectation for customer service during a sale?
No, I don't think they do, and I think that boils down also to the different type of nationality. We find from our research that certainly Western nationals expect more, whether it's a sale or otherwise, and certain other nationalities believe that they're buying something cheaper, so they're likely to get less of a service.
Do you think that this might be, and this is a point we've actually had point out on our text message system this morning, 4001, by the way, is the number to text if you would like to get involved. We have had someone come in saying, is the lack of after-sales service warranties that will be fairly hassle-free and international warranties rather than local warranties, is that why we're seeing more grey products in the UAE? If you're not particularly certain that you'll have an easy time of getting something immediately replaced, does it make less of a difference then if you're buying something grey without a warranty?
No, I don't think so. I think that most people now buying something in the grey market is either because they can't buy it in the normal retail market, or they're getting it a lot cheaper. I don't think they're taking the warranty into consideration.
Let's talk about what is in the Blue Book and how you would like to see it expand. Do you think consumers in the UAE know their rights, actually, for starters?
No, they don't. No, not at all. The research we conduct, most consumers, they've probably seen the yellow sticker behind the counter when they're buying something, but they actually don't know what their rights are. They don't know where to go, and it's pretty confusing for them.
How much does it address what the shop has to offer in terms of warranty, take-back, etc., and how much does it address what the individual should offer in the way of customer service and information provided at the shop?
From early readings of the Blue Book, and we believe it was only published last week, we got a copy last week, it's more to do with the rights that the consumer can expect when they return goods, or either for warranty or outside warranty. And when you go through it leaves the flexibility with the retailer. The retailer has the right to give you a refund, send your product for repair, or otherwise. So it's certainly not as aggressive as we would have expected from a consumer perspective.
Because I think that one of the problems here is that the technical staff, particularly on electronic goods and things, really don't know their products very well.
That's correct.
So they can say, yes, of course it does this, that and the other to sell it. But when you get it home, it doesn't do that. Does the book address that?
No, it doesn't.
Yawning divide.
No, it doesn't. And in fact, it specifically says that there's certain conditions where you can't return a product. In terms of you found it cheaper elsewhere, or you just don't fancy it anymore, or you.
So this
you
would
bought
come
it
under that
incorrectly.
heading,
Yes,
really,
it
would
would.
it? Yeah.
Yes, it would.
Well, we're having a chat about customer service this morning with Robert Keay, founder and managing director of the Ethos Consultancy. We'll be continuing to do so in just a few moments.